believe we are now live. Just checking on my phone. Yes, we are. Fantastic, fantastic. Welcome, guys, to the first episode of the GFire podcast. I've got today a very special guest with me who it's just reminded me how long I've known him, which is a very great shot. A great friend of mine, Mr. Ravi Sandhu. He goes under the name of Iron Will. So he is a great accountability and mindset specialist in terms of what he does and how he helps people. I'll pass it over to him and let him give him a bit of an introduction. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Ravi. Tell us a little bit about how we interacted to start with as well, and we'll go from there. And if anyone has any questions, drop them in the comments. We'll try and come round to them at the end and cover those. So over to you, my friend.
You bet, Matt. So firstly, it's a total pleasure to be here. For those who don't know, I first encountered Matt when I was around 17 years old. This incredible gentleman was kind enough to help me get started in my physical development. And even back then, this is before he was a coach, this is before there was any social media platforms. Facebook didn't exist, none of these things existed. And he took his own time to help people who wanted to be better and show them how they could improve. It gave me access to incredible people, connected me with people who I then became really good friends with, encouraged me to get involved competitively, was just an incredible help. And of course, that was some time ago. That's 14 years ago now.
Wow.
14 years ago.
Long in the tooth now.
Yeah. But it was incredible to now see that so many of the things that I learned from Matt, the things he had down even back then, about you have to put yourself in a position to win. You have to surround yourself. You have to go where there is real specialism and expertise. And he encouraged me to do all these little things about going to competitions and just meeting people and asking questions and learning. I picked up so much, so much, because the fact of the matter is, I was fortunate to meet someone who was at an elite level in what I was trying to accomplish at that time. He was already at such a high level, and I was just starting. And success leaves clues, as we do know. And this now, to see how this has now come kind of full circle, it's kind of surreal, but it's great. It's great. So, my name is Ravi. I am an accountability and high performance coach. I'm in the game of results. I'm in the game of leveling up productivity, goal achievement. I work with entrepreneurs, consultants. I work with professionals and people who want to seriously level up their game. I'm an avid biohacker. I'm actually from a project management background, so that is my core skill set: project management, execution, delivery. I did it professionally for many, many years and delivered some significant large-scale projects. And I'm a passionate self-improver. I've got 12 years in this game, and I formed Iron Will on the basis of my journey, what I had to do to fix myself and get myself to the level of performance I want to be.
Fantastic.
And now we share this.
So tell us a little bit about that. Let's sort of delve into that a little bit. What sort of, when you were on this journey, when you were going through this sort of self-discovery, what sort of major challenges and those sort of roadblocks did you actually face that you sort of had to, I assume you learned to overcome them, and that sort of drove you towards where you are now?
Like many, my journey was sparked from having to overcome things. It was around the time that we met, that I didn't know what it was at the time, but I was dealing with quite a lot of anxiety and social phobias and just a discomfort in myself, and it rocked my confidence, and I didn't know what was going on. Back in the day, there wasn't necessarily a whole lot of information you could get on these things.
Yeah, sure.
Had to think, okay, I don't like who I am. I don't like where I am. I don't want to live like this. I want to accomplish things and be a better person. So I'm going to go out there and figure out a way to improve myself. I started, like many young men do, by going to the gym and lifting.
Yeah.
And those things that I learned in those years, they were mission critical, absolutely mission critical. They were the things that was the best foundation I could have built, of tolerating discomfort, of understanding that to obtain hard things, it is difficult.
I think you're touching on something there I think many people miss when it comes to the sort of physical health and physical exercise side of thing, which is fantastic. That it's, you know, when people get involved in sports, when people get involved in some kind of physical fitness, whether that be running, rowing, cycling, you know, going to the gym, a combat sport, a team sport, football, rugby, tennis, whatever they want to do, that sort of competitiveness and that sort of almost fun environment and that discomfort and challenge, especially for somebody that's potentially socially anxious, can be character changing, can't it? It can really, really build on who you are as a person.
Completely agree. Completely agree. You get confidence and you get a level of mental fortitude within yourself when you can consistently show up. I think self-esteem and genuine self-respect, your body keeps the score. Your mind knows that you're the person that gets under the bar whether you like it or not. You're the person who shows up on time. You're the person who puts the plates away. You're the person who gets his logbook out and meticulously records every rep. You're the person who gets to bed on time. You're the person who listens to experienced people. You earn your own respect. And it helped me massively. And that was the start of my journey. But like with all these journeys, there are twists and turns. And I know yourself, Matt, having followed you for as long as I have, I know you've been through injuries, you've been through adversity, you've been through all these things. And
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where sometimes we get to that sort of, we get to those moments, don't we? And I think you touched on it fantastically, where you had discovered the sort of pain of being where you were and who you were was outweighing the fear of change. And it gets to that point where that little light switch goes off, that epiphany moment, that light bulb moment, that ding, 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 I've got to do something about it.
That's it. That was the case for me. This kind of went on, the anxiety, the hiding from the world almost, the workaholism I struggled with. I really did for many years. I was extremely obsessed with pushing myself. And I accomplished things. I got promotion after promotion, but a lot of things in my life were not where I wanted to be. I still had massive image issues. I still had a lot of insecurity. I still avoided many areas of life. It was very bad, actually. But when I was around 29, it was it dawned on me, because I understood I'm going to be turning 30 soon. And I can remember very vividly the exact moment where I myself threw down the gauntlet. I was at work. It hit me like a ton of bricks that I'm going to be 30 and things, yeah, on paper they've progressed, but this is not what I want. I remember just projectile vomiting, going home. Yeah, it was one of those moments. Oh yeah. Going home
really was a bad taste moment at the time.
Oh yes. There's some people have their come to Jesus moment in a slightly less socially embarrassing way. But that was my catalyst. Yeah. I went home immediately. I actually went online. The guy that I followed for quite some time, the dude who changed my life, he was a coach, his name's Andy, just went to his website and said, man, I need to work with you, man.
Yeah.
That was where my real mindset journey began.
Brilliant.
We worked intensively on this. We put a whole project together, and it was about expanding beyond my comfort zone. It was about proceeding despite the doubts I had and just taking action and being painfully fucking consistent with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, one of the quotes that I've always loved, it comes from Rudyard Kipling's poem If, and there's a specific line in that comes out, and it is, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters both the same. And it takes away that elation feeling and that depressive feeling, and it focuses on that middle ground of you've got to be consistent. You have to do the things that you don't necessarily always want to do, as if you love doing them. I think that might be a Mike Tyson quote, actually, that I'm just
yeah.
But anyway, but you know, to continuously perform those tasks and be consistent towards self-improvement. And I think that those kind of like baby steps that we take with direction, you know, and as you've seen as well, the value of having a mentor that you connect with, that you can speak with. You know, we don't always communicate the best with everybody. Everybody's not for everybody. But if it's the right person, like if anybody's watching and they want to talk to myself or talk to Ravi, etc., you know, we're there for you. That's what it's about. But it's about connecting with the right person, isn't it? And that then when you have that direction, you know, carry on to where did this sort of go for you from there?
So the life-changing thing was working with Andy as an individual, how deeply I resonated with his story, the kind of connection I had with him, and the belief that he had in me, and the investment that he had in me, and the fact that he truly was convinced that I could do what I wanted to do, and he got it into my head. The process that we had was about expanding beyond my comfort zone. At this point in my life, I gained a lot of weight. I was 7 stone heavier than I am. It was a bad situation. Yeah. I spent years in the wilderness, buddy. So this was a whole between meeting you, between those years, you know, doing some really good stuff, going away to university, competing in powerlifting, all these things, and then a lot happened in between.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But then the good news is then I got back onto a form that I couldn't even imagine I'd be. So the process that we enacted was, we aggressively worked on losing weight, aggressively, right? That was a huge level of consistency, a huge level of accountability, like posting my pictures in public on his community, like regularly, checking in every day, every single day with everything I've done that day. This eventually has been read by like 400,000 people at this point. So there's a part of the world where many people were quite inspired by my transformation, and it was documented. These principles that I ingrained into my psyche, it was from being in the arena, through being completely single-mindedly focused on my goal of becoming who I want to be and dropping all that weight. First it was 10, 20, then 30 pounds, and 40 pounds, and 50 pounds, 60, 70, 80 pounds, now more than that. And then it was also about broadening my social horizons, expanding my social network, meeting people, going out and exposing myself to people and meeting new people and making new friendships again and again and again and again. And then doing some really deep inner work, really deep healing about the insecurities that I had, about the image issues that I had, about my sense of worth, my sense of value in the world. And all of these things, I want to stress that you start small with these things. Absolutely. The transformation it's still undergoing, but the big changes that I did make, that was a year in the making.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think we have to be kind to ourselves when people are going through these changes, because we don't get into these really negative places. This negative spiral isn't a week-long binge and all of a sudden we've put on 100 pounds and we're stressed and we can't sleep and we've got relationship issues and we're showing up late for work and all these kind of things. It's not something that just flips a switch, is it? And likewise, it won't be corrected in the same time frame. You know, these sort of spirals that we go on are quite insidious, aren't they, in the way that they creep up on us, and then all of a sudden we're like, hang on a second, this isn't how I envision thing, you know. And you have that catalyst, like for you, for example, it was the turning 30. It can be when someone goes, hold on, I've put all this effort into my business, I'm doing very well there, but my waistline's ever expanding, I'm not happy. You know, as long as there's that catalyst moment that really changes us and we realize exactly what you've just said, it's going to take time. It's going to take work to actually do it. And as you said as well, you know, just like I am, just like you are, we never stop trying to learn, trying to improve ourselves in whatever field that we're actually looking at.
Completely agree, Matt. This stuff, certainly things that you've accomplished. I remember back in the day, just the thing that really brought us together in the start of this journey. I can recall some of the accomplishments that you had in competitive sport, but they were utterly mind blowing. They're so hard to do. That stuff is so hard to do, right? And I remember how hard you trained. I remember the utter dedication, the focus.
That was it. Yeah, the fitness factory in Coventry, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
remember now. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, but there was really hard work being done there, and it was they were very serious people. Those things, they stay with you, right? If you're impressionable and you're young, and you see these people who are accomplishing a lot, who are like world champions in their pursuit, right? And I don't really care what it is someone has chosen and they're passionate about, but to go and give it your heart and soul, that's an incredible, inspiring thing, right? And I always appreciated this, but the reality of this stuff is it has always been hard to obtain things of value. It genuinely has been. Whether it's the physique that you want, whether it's the level of function that you want, whether it's the kind of relationships or the social circle or the business or the brand or whatever it may be, these things require huge commitments of time, huge commitments of hard work, consistency. There is some monotony in this. You don't necessarily love the entire process, but if you have the right mindset and you internalize and ingrain certain frameworks into your mind and you knit it into just how your brain passes reality, then your likelihood of success just goes up and up. And for me, just listening to what you said there, I think that our mindset and also how our body functions and how well, our habits and the impact that these have on our biology, these are the most important things. And the empowering thing is that anyone can, if they put the right measures in place, they can start to seriously level up and do these things too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's a real key with mindset that very often we'll come in and, people have done it all the time. I still do it. I'm sure you still do it as well. There will become a point when we will make an excuse for something. Now, we absolutely cannot control all of the variables because there are external factors that we will have no control over, but there are variables we can control. And if we can control consistently those variables without letting the external variables become a reason not to do it, we then immediately continuously push ourselves forward. I suppose it's like driving, isn't it? If you're stuck in a traffic jam, you're in this position, you don't want to particularly be there, but to get to the destination, you have to get through this period. You may look for a different route that's got less traffic. You may go, I know a diversion, it's further, but it's going to be quicker because I can do, X, Y, Z route and bypass this, that, or the other. But ultimately, you have to bear that pain. You have to accept that, as you've said, something worth having is worth working for. It's worth that sacrifice. And it's about, we've all got those plates spinning, and it's deciding which of those plates actually are a priority, which ones, if they drop, especially health, if the health plate drops, it breaks, you're never putting that back together again. Whereas there's other ones, what people think of you in that particular area and that one doesn't really matter that much. It's because it's about what you think of yourself, isn't it? So tell us a little bit about how, you had these anxiety issues, and obviously now people will be watching you thinking, well, how do you come across? You're so articulate, you're so diligent in what you do, you're so confident in how you come across. So how did this shift in perspective really come about for you?
That's something that I consistently get told when I'm in a room, when I'm speaking, or whatever the case may be, that people really struggle to believe that I was once a housebound agoraphobic. And just one comment on what you did mention there, Matt, around the commitment, the dedication that you do put in. The thing is, though, yes, it's work, but when you actually accomplish things, and certainly when it's things that you didn't think you can do, it's an incredible, transcendental experience that fills you with gratitude, and these feelings are ongoing. Like, I'm so proud that I overcame these things. I'm still so inspired by the fact that I myself was able to get out of where I used to be and now do the things I do. And regarding anxiety and how I made changes there was some incredible people I learned from. honestly, there's a great guy here in Worcester who runs a wonderful workshop who I went to. And he nailed it. He was incredibly good at what he did. He had a great track record. And what I learned from this man was really about the importance of structure, the importance of focus, the importance of using your intellect and going out there and living your highest potential. Because when we are sat cocooned in our room, and when we stop engaging our mental faculties, our confidence, our sense of self, all dwindles. When we hide from the world, and when we are allowing our mind to dominate us with the sensations of fear, and that's really all they are, just sensations, then we imprison ourselves. And what I learned from him was the importance of being proactive and going out there and exerting yourself to the maximum of your ability every day and setting bigger and bigger goals for yourself. And in so doing, in the pursuit of things, you will forget that you're an anxious person. You will forget. And really what it was all about was brain reconditioning and neuroplasticity.
Yes, yeah.
That is how you go from being very anxious to being a confident, grounded, productive, effective individual. You take on challenges, and in so doing, you change your brain. Your brain is reknitting itself.
Absolutely. It comes into this, I've put a diagram up before, this sort of circle of actions that we have, sometimes 3 or 4 points, and we have that intrinsic unconscious mindset towards things. And as you correctly pointed out, anxiety is effectively a form of fear. You don't know what's going to happen, but you're scared of it anyway. And so you're preempting that sort of negative feeling, which then leads to a belief structure, which then leads to what your actions are. And then your actions then reinforce that behavior and think, oh, I've done the right thing anyway, because I didn't want to go out really. Whereas if you change the one thing you can, the action, and you, as you stated, proactively attack something, the reinforcement, it's not going to be an instant thing, but that reinforcement thing gradually starts ebbing away at the unconscious mind. And you start realizing, well, actually, and I've always likened this. I always, when I talk to my guys, I talk to them and I say, remember when you were a child, when you were learning to ride a bike, for example, and there were training wheels or stabilizers on it. Initially, when they were taken off, it was for some it was scary, for some it was exciting, depending on how they sort of dealt with that sort of that adrenaline factor. But if you might have fallen off, but you get back on and you keep doing it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it. And eventually you forget that you ever needed training wheels. I can't remember not being able to swim, because it's that point that you've learned to do it. And we can train ourselves continuously by exposing ourselves to the thing that, this adrenal response, it's there to protect us from a ruddy great big bear or a lion or something that's got big teeth that's going to eat us. It's that fight or flight response. But that's not really a threat anymore in our modern society. That's not what's there. So we're creating the monster ourselves. We're creating it. And as you correctly, the way you put it, I loved it. You create that cage that you can't sort of escape from. So going on to that, let's what would you say then if you were looking at some of these tips? How would you say if somebody was going, I need to make some steps, I need to make some changes? We've had a comment here, I'll read it out. Someone's put, it's so true. It's exactly what he's found he needs to concentrate on. He's 42 and he feels like he's lost himself. And he would love to be able to feel like he used to. Feels like a midlife crisis. And I feel like I can't motivate myself at this age as I did when I was younger. So in terms of people coming across and thinking that, and I think many people do when they hit, a certain age, don't they? Because they get that reality strikes them. What steps would you advise people initially taking to get them on that journey?
Yeah, this is where my project management hat comes on. And this is what I was extremely passionate about and did for a job, right? It was about delivery. It was about starting with a vision and developing an entire roadmap and managing the people, managing the teams, and getting things done from often what were very challenging situations in teams and organizations where things weren't working, and having to go in and fix things and move things around and develop something that enables organization to thrive. So for me, it starts with visioning. it starts with visioning and creating a vision. And some searching questions that I can give somebody where they can just start this process are thinking about the life that you want, just mapping that out, thinking about who you want to be, what you want to look like, what kind of impact you want to have in the world, what kind of relationships that you want, what kind of hobbies, the kind of places you want to be, getting really in detail about where you want to be, how you want to move, and building a picture of that, painting that picture, getting progressively clearer on what that would look like. That is the first step of just building some concept of a situation that might be different from the one that you are in. And thereafter, once you've started to have a bit of a vision of something that you may want to step towards, then the first question I would ask is, what is one thing that if you could completely attack and obtain, what is the one thing that would make your life better? All right.
Love it. Yeah.
But for me, when I did this exercise myself with my coach, when I started all this, I was coming from a background of being a complete anxious wreck. Yeah. When you're an anxious wreck like that, when you've became a beast like that, when you've hid from the world like that for many years, I was very good at my job. I was very effective in the professional world, but I was dying inside. I'd never been on a date. I didn't think anyone was ever going to have any type of interest in me. I explained to my coach that, dude, if I could just get this area of my life together in some capacity, so it's not something that makes me feel like I'm an alien from outer space anymore.
Yeah.
That would be really good. And just in the roadmap that we created, then it was about losing weight. Then it was about getting your habits in order. Then it was about changing my image and my style. All these things kind of came as a consequence of that.
Yeah.
And then I got the confidence. Then I excelled and met people and all the rest. And then eventually I really nailed a lot of things down and became quite effective. So I would say it starts with that vision. It starts getting really, really clear. And one other thing that I'm going to say is my advice for someone who wants to go on a mission, get that vision down. Absolutely. List the things that you want to accomplish, prioritize them, have a list of 1 to 10. But then as a mature adult, in my opinion, we have to be really realistic about how we're going to progress with that, and understand that focus is what gets results, and understand that we can have 1 or 2 major projects in a year and we can achieve them. Yeah. Other things are probably going to suffer because of that, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that sort of attack that you've used. And I think it's quite common and quite well used. Something I've also done myself, having that sort of morning formula that everyone goes over, and I say to them, look at who you want to be. What house do you live in? What are your friends like? What are your hobbies, etc.? And then focusing on, well, what does that person do? How does that person feel? Do you do what that person does and feels? And then taking those very simple, as you said, first steps towards 1 or 2 projects towards that, of doing the things that that person would do. If you want to be the guy that is in amazing shape, but what does that guy? Does he go out drinking every weekend? Does he eat fast food every weekend? Probably not. So are those things actually leading you towards your goal, or are they inhibiting you from your goal? Yes, you might get the dopamine spike from the food, but is it really long-term taking you where you want to be? So is that temporary relief versus long-term pain, or would you prefer to have that focus and actually get to where you want and have the long-term relief that you want, and have the short-term pain of, well, I just won't have that meal. Instead, I'll have something different. But I love that. I love that sort of vision board. That's brilliant. I love it. Anyone else got any questions? By all means, guys, do drop them in. So in terms of, if people need to get in touch with you, if people are interested in sort of coming through and having a chat and conversation with you, what's the sort of process if someone needs to do that? I'm more than happy to share all the details on here for them.
Hang on. So people can talk to me, get in touch with me. Happy to have a chat with anybody. The process that I use for my one-on-one coaching program is that we get clear on a vision. The first thing we do is some goal setting. There's a kind of an iron will goals procedure that we take people through some visioning, and then they have to do the reflection to understand that these are things we're going to do. And then my project management hat comes on, and then we bridge theory and practice, and we develop actual processes that I expect to be done every single day. And I'm going to hold them accountable. I'm going to check in every day.
We
It's
all
been
have
so
had
amazing.
daily non-negotiables. I think all us coaches love those, don't we?
Yes.
Daily non-negotiables. I always say that. Get those DNNs in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what breeds results. So once we've got that, then we can talk about how we can do the implementation of these things. And I've got my own little program and community, and we've got some wonderful people there who are in this journey. So we have group support. We've got myself pushing everybody, and also working on myself along the way. Because for me, the passion is just to see progression. It's just to see improvements. It's about seeing people play the game of life in a way that enables them to feel more empowered, and to get the wins that they're looking for and realize their potential. And
absolutely. I'm conscious of the time, because I know you've got more appointments coming up as well. You're a busy guy. So we'll just finish on this then. So guys, always focus exactly on, what Ravi's been talking about there to you guys, and what I've been talking about. And this focus on self-improvement, surrounding yourself with the right people, surrounding yourself in those areas, and celebrating the wins from other people. Don't see other people as, Ravi and I, we're both coaches. We both do different things. We're talking together. We're friends together. You don't see other people as a threat, because unity is always better. It is always stronger. You can always learn off people. You can always push yourself further. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on here, buddy. It's been brilliant to catch up. It really has. And it's brought back some memories and made me feel very old, which is always good fun. And I really hope people have found it useful. And we'd love to have you on again at some point in the future, which will be fantastic as well, because it's been brilliant having you here. Do you have any final words you want to drop in for any of the guys?
The final word that I'm going to drop in is that you are a legend, Matt, because you did this stuff before the social media. And the thing that that I still remember is the extent to which you invested in helping other people as a hobby. For you, most of these people, you don't. Some of them are doing really well now, really successful, right? And you probably didn't even know that, right? But you made a really good contribution to a lot of people's lives, and I appreciate that. And you should know that. You should.
I really appreciate that. It's other people getting those wins. It's nice to think that you've had an impact on someone. It really is. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you from everyone here at GForce. We truly appreciate you coming on, Ravi, and we'll get you on again in the future. If anyone else has any questions that they want to direct after this, by all means, drop them in a message to me, and I'll be able to get them across to Ravi and connect you to if needs to be done. And it's been an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.
See you soon, brother.
See you later, my friend. See you later.